I just finished the last race of my season, and it was the Ironman virtual race number 21. The reason I wanted to make this video is I wanted to share my experience, and what I like my athletes to do that I coach is to share a post-race review, post-season review, and I wanted to review the questions and give my answers to what happened to me this season. As we know, it's the 2020 season of COVID. It is the end of August, and my original intent for the season was to do ultra trail races. I had a date set on May 16th where I was training for a 50-mile trail run with over 15,000 feet of elevation gain and loss in the northern Georgia mountains. And as we all know, in mid-March, when COVID really hit and the town shut down, the trail shut down, I was just getting into the build phase where I was building strength, endurance, getting up into the mountains, getting on the race course that I was going to compete on. I was all excited. It was something new. It was definitely a challenge. My challenge with trail running is actually the downhill. And then everything stopped, and we had to readjust our plans as athletes, what we were going to do, how long was the town going to be shut down, when were the races going to continue, who knew? So me being the athlete that I am, who absolutely loves to train, I'm definitely a process-oriented versus result-oriented athlete. I like the training process versus the actual events. I decided, well, if I'm going to be stuck inside, I can't run on the trails, I really wasn't ready to get back on the road, I'm going to jump on my bike trainer because my biking fitness was lacking, and I thought it was a good opportunity to start building some bike fitness. And that's when I heard about the Ironman virtual races. Back in April, they had their first one. It was a 70.3, and then they did it every month. They did a 70.3, a sprint, an Olympic, and then they repeated that, 70.3, sprint, Olympic. And for the first 3 months, April, May, and June, they did, or maybe it was April and May, they had what was called originally the classic division, where you could do the distance on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday of the race. So let's say it was a Olympic distance, you could do a 3K, 40K, 10K run, 40K bike, 3K run, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You could split it up into 3 days, you could do it all in one day, however you wanted to do it. There's a specific time frame. So I jumped on the bandwagon. I missed the first one, so I've done 20 out of 21. And I was surprised, I don't know why I was surprised, that my bike fitness was really lacking. I did an FTP test, functional threshold power test. It was very low. I didn't believe the results. I started training on Zwift and Ruby, which are two platforms of riding. And I was really disappointed that I was lacking some bike fitness, because that's actually my favorite mode of training besides trail running. So I started doing these races just for something to do, keep me motivated, keep me accountable, kind of get back in the triathlon mode, because, you know, without being able to trail run, I was kind of at that, well, what am I going to do now? I wasn't planning on doing triathlons, but let's see how the virtual races go. Athletes I was coaching did them. That's how I found out about them. And 2 months into it, I started feeling like my bike fitness was coming along, and then Ironman opened up another division called the championship division. So now by, I think it was June or July, I can't remember, they had 3 divisions. The classic, you could ride anywhere, run anywhere, bike anywhere, any order. Then they had the finisher division, where you had to do it, I believe, in that order, bike, run, bike. And then they had the championship division. The championship division was a series of 4 races, 2 Olympics, a half, and an Olympic, duathlon. And in the championship division, you had to run, bike, run in that order within a 12-hour period of time. And so for like a half Ironman duathlon, you had to run a 5K, bike 90K on Ruby. That was the championship division. You could only bike on Ruby and then run a half marathon, all in a 12-hour span. So the first month of that series, I just did it to do. I'm a competitor. I compete mostly against myself, but it was kind of fun to see where I stacked up against people around the world. And I had no intention to go to the 70.3 World Championships in 2020 in New Zealand. So they asked me if I wanted to go after the first 4 races, and I said no. And then the 2020 championship race was canceled, so I was excited for the next 4 races to be eligible for the 2021 World Championship in St. George, Utah. And so I continued signing up for the championship series, and I found out before the last 2 races of this current series that I'd qualified, and I secured my slot to the 70.3 World Championship in St. George, Utah for 2021. So it's all about the preparation meeting opportunity. Good luck is the result of preparation that meets opportunity. I was prepared. Little did I know that's what I was preparing for, but I was prepared. So when the opportunity arose that I had a chance to qualify for a World Championship event virtually, I jumped on it. And I kind of tweaked my training a little bit, where I did a little bit of build, a little bit more speed work, a little bit more rest the week before a race. I like to do my races on a Friday, and then I had the weekend to spend doing stuff around the house, spending time with my family, stuff like that. And again, I got a slot, so I'm very excited. So the reason I wanted to talk about it was because it's all about, as an athlete, having a plan A, plan B, plan C. All my virtual races in the early part of the year, April, May, and June, were B and C races. They were just training races. They allowed me an opportunity to work on my nutrition, my hydration, tweak my training a little bit, kind of see where my motivation was. It was Friday, the race was happening. Did I want to go hard? Did I want to just kind of cruise it? Well, I really wanted to use it as a training race. And what I learned was, if I wanted to perform well on Friday, I did need to rest a little bit more during the week, especially as an older master athlete who has been in the sport for 28 years. I do need more recovery. So I allowed myself a little bit more rest the days leading up to my Friday event. I learned I definitely need to tweak my caloric consumption for the Olympic distance and half Ironman event. Even though I've been doing this for 20 years, there's always still something to learn, and your body changes as you get older, the hormones change, a lot of things happen. So it's always getting the experience and learning from each experience and tweaking whatever you need to tweak to perform your best on competition day. Today being the Ironman Virtual Race 21, the last Olympic distance race of the championship series, was my best one. I had a 3K run. The 40K bike was not my best, but due to the nature of the course, and I had my best 10K run because I didn't explode on the bike. I've been using all these events to try to really crush the bike because that was my weak event, and I wanted my weakness to match up with my strength a little bit. I was definitely a stronger runner, but over the course of the last 3 months, as my biking was getting closer to my running speed dropped off a tad bit. So I really spent this last month kind of maintaining where I was at bike-wise, power-wise, watts, and I increased my running. I worked on my form, I worked on my speed, and so today, the final race of the series, I was very pleased with my results. And so what is entailed in a race report? I want to look at my notes. So I shared my experience. What did I learn? I learned, and this isn't new, but maybe it's new for you, what you're going to learn about me. I'm definitely a process-driven competitor versus results-oriented competitor. I'm going to train no matter what, and I'm going to choose the mode of training that sounds motivating and kind of appetizing in the moment. You know, it was trail running, then it got to be triathlons, and then I noticed my fitness was increasing, so I stuck with a triathlon/duathlon. And now going into the postseason, I'm excited to get back into trail running. I learned that I need to tweak my nutrition, which I already mentioned. What worked well? I think me being an introvert and stuck indoors, I don't mind riding indoors. I don't mind the little bit of the isolation, so that actually worked well for me. I raced so many times where I literally on Fridays, I would get up to that racing mindset, especially the last 2 months when I was competing for points in this championship series. What am I most proud of? I think I'm just definitely most proud of changing my mindset and adapting to the current situation and kind of thriving on the current situation and kind of making it work for me. Again, this works for me. I'm an experienced athlete. I've been doing this for 28 years, so what works for me definitely might not work for you, but I'm pretty proud of myself for kind of making that switch in my mind, physically and mentally, to say, okay, this is not my year for trail running, but it's not going to be a year of being unfit. I'm going to make the fitness work for me. Even being out of the pool for 3 months, again, I'm lucky I'm a swimmer, so I'm a little bit different case scenario, but I adapted when that pool was closed for 3 months, and I did a lot more stretch bands and cord work at home because I'd lost access, like everyone else did, to a facility to lift heavy weights and to swim. What are your thoughts and feelings during each sport? Was competing really hurts. I've been in this sport for 28 years, and sometimes getting up to that competitive level, it's more for me mental than physical, because competing is at an intensity that hurts more than just going to finish the race. And I always have to make the choice, am I happy with just finishing, or am I happy with finishing under a certain time? And a lot of times with my experience and age, a lot of times I'm just happy, I'm just going to finish. But if I want to get to that championship level again, I have to compete, and that hurts a lot more. What are my areas of growth? I don't know. I think I'm not quite sure how to answer that question yet. I think areas of growth are to rest more, recover more. I've definitely had to learn that for every hard day, intense training day that I have to take 2 active recovery days. I really struggle with doing 2 hard days back to back. I just feel like flat and tired and a little bit more fatigued than I did in my younger days. So making sure I take that recovery, don't take it for granted. What was effective or not effective about your mental game? I'm pretty mentally strong. I'm probably one of the most mentally competent persons I know, so that's on track. And then what was your fueling and hydration strategy? Did it work well? It definitely worked well today. What I did today is I hydrated more. Sometimes I forget, you may forget, that you do still need to hydrate even though you're training indoors and riding the bike indoors. So instead of 1 bottle, I had 2 bottles of Tailwind, and then I had a can of soda on my way here to do my run. And I only needed to sip my water bottle once during my 10K run. That worked great. So again, I'm still learning. You know, it's a little bit different doing these virtual races when you don't have that aid station and support from the volunteers. So make sure you I've never taken them for granted. I've always thanked all of them, but you listening to this, make sure you never take for granted the amount of volunteers that are out there supporting you during your race. So that's a race review. I'm gonna, just go through it one more time. When I'm doing a race review, I want each athlete to share their experience, what they learned, what worked well, what they're most proud of, what didn't go well, what are the areas of growth, what are their thoughts and feelings for each sport during their competition, what was effective and not effective about their mental game, and then a little bit about their fueling strategy, if it worked or didn't work, and then anything else they share. So if you've never written a race review or a season review, I encourage you to. It's definitely something to keep in a training log so you can look back on it as you approach the next season and continue doing what's working for you and changing what's not working for you. I hope you make it a great day.